The writing's on the wall. You've seen the headlines, and you're beginning to notice the layoffs, the downsizing, the familiar faces that are just gone. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you're asking a question you don't want to say out loud. Am I next? Is my job safe? Because for you, retirement is less than 3 years away. You're so close. And you've given this place 20, the best years of your life. And you're sitting here thinking, can I just hold on a little while longer? Can I make it to the finish line? And that's not paranoia. No, that's a real fear. And today I want to give you two things. The first is a specific plan to protect your job and learn how to use AI to make yourself more valuable than ever. And the second thing, because we know life doesn't always go according to plan, is I want to give you a financial roadmap, a retirement readiness checklist. To things you could do right now to make sure that even if AI does disrupt your career, your retirement is still fully protected, right? Things you can do right now to get ready. So you're going to leave this video with a plan either way. So let's get into it. Now, the first move is not to panic. You're okay right now, but we better not ignore AI and where it's going. See, most people, they either assume AI can't touch their job, which we know is often wrong because things are going to change, or they assume it's going to replace everything, which, again, not always the case. It's probably somewhere in the middle. Now, according to AARP, 61% of workers over the age of 50 now believe AI will replace workers just like them. In fact, 2 out of 5 say they already feel like they're being pushed out of their job because of their age. Now, the best way to stop fearing AI is to actually get off the sidelines, to actually experiment with the tools and to stop guessing what it can and can't do. We're going to have you test it out. That's right. We're going to do a job audit. So this week, open any of your favorite AIs, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, whatever it is. And I want you to type in a detailed and honest description of what you do in your week. Or maybe it's a meeting. Type it out. And then I want you to ask, we'll say chat, to complete one of the core deliverables that you produce. A report, an analysis, meeting notes, whatever it is, a recommendation, whatever is most representative of your work. And I want you to review it and ask yourself these 4 questions. What did it do well? What still required your judgment? What parts did it do faster and more thoroughly than you actually would? And lastly, what tasks clearly needed a human eye for it? And I want you to do this every month, or if you feel a little more confident, every 3 or 6 months, because this is going to be a good benchmark to look at its output and see how quickly technology is advancing and where to track where your job is headed. That's the first step, the audit. Now, next, I want you to learn how to use AI to your advantage by telling chat, what do you do in a week? And look for ways to create efficiencies. Start documenting everything in it, throwing reports and samples and prompting it. So instead of asking it to replace your work, think of it as improving how you do for your work, right? You have 20 plus years of doing your job, but I'm sure there's some inefficiencies, and that's what chat is great about. Asking, where am I spending too much time on things? What could be done faster? What could be done automatically? What could actually be eliminated? You'll actually be surprised with what comes back, because AI is really good at looking at problems on a list of tasks and identifying patterns and redundancies and shortcuts that are probably, something that we would miss. See, you've been doing this job for a long time, and there's some of those habits that you're so ingrained with. AI doesn't have those habits. It just looks at the work and tells you what it sees. So again, use it as a tool, nothing more. Now, remember, the parts that involve your judgment, that's what you bring to the table. Your skill set, your relationships with stakeholders, colleagues, that's where AI hits a wall. And that's exactly where you need to be spending more of your time and energy. The things that you do best. The other things, they could be automated. That's what chat is for. Your job right now is to know the difference between the parts of your role that are vulnerable to AI and replacement and the parts that are genuinely yours that no one can take away. And I want you to double down on that. See, you can't protect what you haven't assessed. That's why we have to do that assessment. Number 3, I want you to become the expert on AI within your team. Be the person your manager turns to when they want to figure out where AI could help them. You want to be the whisperer, the translator, right? The bridge, that person who understands both your job and your department so well, but also where AI could help it. In fact, 96% of companies say AI skills will be beneficial to their employees in their workforce. And that 83% of employees who demonstrate those skills have more job security than those who do not. And so take a course, spend more time with AI. It's not just a search engine like most people use it. I need you to get ahead. Take a course on LinkedIn, YouTube, Coursera, right? 30 minutes a day, and you'll be ahead of so many more of your colleagues and your peers. I want you to be that translator, that go-to in your department, volunteering and learning whatever tools your company is piloting and train others on them. Again, be that bridge, that strategy on implementation, right? That's the role that stays there. And the last one that has nothing to do with AI and more to do about the intangibles is how do you become more valuable in your current job right now? Whether it's mentoring someone younger, finding somebody on your team who's either earlier in their career and invest in them deliberately, meeting with them regularly and sharing what you know and helping them avoid the mistakes that you made. And this does two things simultaneously. It makes you visibly valuable to leadership as someone who develops talent, and it cements your institutional knowledge as something the organization depends on. You see, companies protect the person who grows other people. AI can't do that. It could be a training manual, but you have those skills. And I want you to step into, if possible, a leadership gap and look around your organization right now. Where is there a problem that no one's owning? Is there a process that's broken? See, you raising your hand, chipping in, leading, showing your willingness to step in, that's visible leadership. And lastly, becoming a connector. Chances are, if you're 30 plus years into your career, you have those relationships, context, institutional knowledge that those rookies, they don't have that. And start using that intentionally. Introduce people who should know each other. Bridge departments that are not talking. Translate strategy into practical action for your team. Be that person who connects people to ideas, and you have just become indispensable in ways that are very, very hard to quantify in a spreadsheet. And most of all, AI is not going to touch. Now, that's internally within your organization. So we've talked about how we could use AI, things you can do to leverage yourself more internally. Now, if we're still spooked outside of work, here's what we need to be doing. Go talk to a recruiter. Go figure out your value on the open market with someone for your background, your experience level. What role is available and what are they paying, right? Start looking at your competitors. Next, update your LinkedIn profile today. Your photo, your headline, don't make it obvious. Open to networking and looking for a job. But again, if you haven't touched your profile in a couple of years, you're invisible to the market. So fix that now before it's too late. And next, I want you to rebuild 2 or 3 professional relationships, right? It's too late if you're reaching out once you're out of a job. People are going to know, oh, you're only reaching out to use me, but reach out to people that you've lost touch with. Go get a coffee, not to ask for anything, just to reconnect. You see, the people who land well on their feet after disruptions are the ones who have built the foundation. And lastly, think through your plan B. Worst case, even roughly, if your role went away tomorrow, what would you do? Could you consult? Could you offer those 30 years of experience to smaller companies? Would you go out and be an entrepreneur on your own and take those skills and take them to smaller companies, or work part-time while bridging your way into retirement? Again, spend some time thinking about this now. Again, you're not in crisis mode. You have a job, but now, while you have that job, is more important than ever to start thinking about these things. Now, the next thing we're going to do is transition into what you should be doing today while you still have a job in order to prepare for an early and unexpected retirement. You see, when your finances are in order, everything becomes easy. Every decision you can negotiate, walk away. It becomes a choice instead of a reaction. So what I want you to do while you're still working is build that foundation. Just like you don't need a reason to save, the better your finances are in order, the better you can face whatever's thrown your way. In fact, once you're financially ready to retire, it's a different game. You're in control. You can choose whether or not you want to go to work. And now the weight of the world is off your shoulders. So what I want to do is make sure you're ready. Now, the first step is to know your numbers. With this information, I want you to know the difference between what you're spending today with a paycheck and what you can actually afford to spend in retirement, because I often see this is a huge gap for folks in their 50s and 60s, empty nesters who have allowed lifestyle creep now that they're making 150, 200, 300,000 as a household. And there's a big gap of what they're going to have to adjust to when they retire. So in fact, a better solution is to try and live off that retirement income you just calculated, and anything else that's left over, save it, forget about it, invest it, put it towards your mortgage, which, hey, that reminds me, if you still have a mortgage, mortgages are often the biggest fixed expense you will carry into retirement. And if your career ends abruptly, this decision matters even more. And here's the thing, not every mortgage is a problem. In fact, depending on your situation, your mortgage might be one of the best financial assets sitting on your balance sheet. And so what I want to do is break into 3 different categories of how you should, if you're planning on having a mortgage, carry that into retirement. Now, if your balance is, we'll say, under a couple $100,000 and you have a pristine interest rate, sub 3 or sub 4, that is an asset. That low mortgage, that low rate, that's a gift. You've locked in very, very cheap money. Key word there, cheap money. In fact, your monthly payment, it's predictable, the rate's fixed, and that capital you would have used to pay it off early, you can use that to invest and compound at a rate that almost certainly beats what you're paying in interest. Again, it's not a liability. Treat it as an asset. Now, if you have a much bigger balance or your interest rate is really high, 5, 6, 7%, I want you, while you're still working, to really try and put extra money towards that principal right now to try and lower what you're going to have to put towards your mortgage in retirement. Because every dollar that you spend right now putting towards the mortgage, that's less that you're going to have to spend in retirement. Now, if you're living in a high cost of living state, your house is probably one of the biggest assets that you personally have. Thinking of California, New York, Texas, Massachusetts, Washington. If you own a house there in retirement, you're sitting on equity that could be completely change your retirement picture. You have an asset. You could consider selling and downsizing, or selling and moving to a lower cost of living state. Again, last resort, but again, we need to be creative, and your dollar would go significantly further in another part of the country, right? If AI or other disruptions were to take your job away. So again, understand what you have. We're building a budget, we're building a balance, and understanding how we can use that. And the last one that catches most people off guard as they transition into retirement, especially before the age of 65, you guessed it, it's healthcare. If you leave your employer before the age of 65, healthcare is one of your largest monthly expenses, right behind your mortgage. And most people have no idea what costs they're going to be staring at until they get that COBRA notice in the mail. COBRA is not a snake. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is go to healthcare.gov and work with a broker to run numbers based on your age, your zip code, household size, and what your income is going to be. I want you to understand how ACA subsidies work. I made a whole video on how to lower your income in retirement to qualify for more affordable healthcare. But we have to understand what healthcare could cost for our family before the age of 65 and begin building that as a line item into our budget. Now, if you want to sit down and actually run these numbers together to see exactly where you stand and build your plan for either scenario with respect to AI in your job, that's exactly the work I do with families. Click on the link in the comment section below, fill out a survey. Again, no pressure, just a conversation. That's what we're here for. Now, here's what I want you to take away from today. You are not powerless. You have more leverage with your experience than the headlines want you to believe. You're okay. You have more experience than any AI can ever replicate, and more time than you think to get this right. You're okay. But time is the variable, and the families I work with who navigate this well are never the ones who have had the perfect plan handed to them. No, they're the ones who started building it before they needed. They made tweaks and modifications along the way, before the reorganization, before the awkward meeting with HR, and before the decision was made for them. And that is what today was all about. Not fear, but preparations. So you have 2 plans. Plan A, you can use AI to make yourself more valuable than ever before and retire on your own terms, on your own timeline, exactly the way that you built it. Or plan B, if something changes and your job gets taken from you, we know financially you've done everything right. You've closed the spending gap. Your savings are maxed. Your mortgage is figured out. Your portfolio is positioned well. And your healthcare, well, it's planned for. You're not starting from scratch. You're ready. That 30 years of work, it deserves a retirement that actually happens, one that's on your term and nobody else's. So as we walk away here, go do the AI audit, pull the spending numbers, update the LinkedIn, make one move just this week, just one, and build from there and keep going. You've got this. I'll see you in the next video.